Hey dude, Eddie Sparxx here with a new series called Metal Decadeology. I've pulled this term from a subreddit of the same name called r/Decadeology. It's essentially the study of cultural shifts, trends, eras throughout the decades and how sometimes things blend over into other eras. For example, Def Leppard was still outselling Nirvana in 1992 with Adrenalize, despite grunge having killed hair metal, so to speak. Today we're covering 1986, so let's check that out. Time for our first little segment of What's Going On? You had a lot of crazy stuff going on in 1986. The Space Shuttle Challenger tragically exploded. The reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear plant exploded, becoming the world's worst nuclear disaster in history. Hopefully it remains the worst nuclear disaster in history. Of course, you got the Iran-Contra scandal that shook the Reagan administration. You had Hands Across America, which was a mixed success, but basically it was an attempt to create a physical chain of people holding hands from the East Coast to the West as like a little fundraiser. Classic movies such as Top Gun and Platoon came out, and Pixar Studios is established as an independent company, so that's pretty cool. But enough about that, let's talk about metal. Let me be very, very clear. I am a hair metal positive music fan, which is why I'm thrilled to say that it did really well in 1986. Don't worry, we'll get onto thrash in a minute. Glam was on a roll this year. Cinderella's Night Songs, Rats Dancing Undercover, Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In, David Lee Roth's first solo album since his departure from Van Halen, called Eat 'Em and Smile, and then Van Halen's first album with Sammy Hagar on vocals, 5150, Europe's iconic Final Countdown, and of course, Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet. So yeah, glam metal, and by extension Aquanet Hairspray, were making lots of money and putting a hole in the ozone layer. Hell, even established metal giants like Judas Priest and Ozzy were adopting the glam metal sound with the albums Turbo and Ultimate Sin respectively. But while the prettier metal bands were putting out synth-laden radio rockers, an uglier, sicker breed of metalheads were writing these masterpieces. Flotsam and Jetsams, Doomsday for the Deceiver, Dark Angels, Darkness Descends, and Creator's Pleasure to Kill. But if I'm sounding a little too cool for school, don't worry, I've saved the best for last in the thrash department. Because 3 of the big 4 thrash bands released a stone cold classic this year. Hell, if Anthrax weren't out of sync by a year, it would have been a full house. Slayer's Reign in Blood, Megadeth's Peace sounded like Goofy. Slayer's Reign in Blood, Megadeth's Peace Sells But Who's Buying, and Metallica's Master of Puppets. Where do I even start, dude? Glam metal might have ruled the charts in its day, but these thrash albums are relevant to metal today. That's not a shot against glam, but an appraisal of how metalheads' insatiable appetite for heavy has led to classics such as this. Metallica especially were the gateway band for me to become this chronically obsessed with this topic in the first place. Anyway, if you're new to thrash and stumbled upon my videos and means to get into metal, start here, you can't go wrong. Personally, I'd go Puppets, Peace Sells, and then Reign in Blood, because you get the build-up of increasingly unhinged songs. But it's not just glam and thrash, here's some other cool stuff happening at the time too. The Deep Six compilation is considered a major stepping stone in the formation of the Seattle grunge scene, featuring early tracks from the likes of Soundgarden, Melvins, Green River, Malfunction, featuring future Mother Love Bone vocalist Andrew Wood, Skinyard, and the U-Men. We get a neoclassical classic from Yngwie's Rising Force with the album Trilogy, some Doom with Doomicus Epicus Metallicus by Candlemass, a cool progressive metal record with Queensryche's Rage for Order, and yet another classic from Iron Maiden with Somewhere in Time, which also happens to be my personal favorite Maiden record. Let's take a minute to discuss something that most 80s music has in common, in a segment I like to call, "But why does it sound like that?" When you think of 80s metal, you're immediately confronted by a mental image of one of two things. Either it's thrash, denim, battle vests, leather jackets, pointy guitars, high tops, and fast songs, or big hair, neon spandex, makeup, pointy guitars again, but this time they're colourful, pink smoke, and utter decadence and debauchery, 1986 is pretty much as 80s as it gets. But sonically, 80s metal production is characterized by a lot of reverb, chorus effect on most of the guitars, whether clean or distorted, huge cavernous gated drum sounds, and soaring vocals dripping wet with delay and reverb. Some hate it, some love it. I fall into the latter bracket. I love this crap. 80s production really is Marmite if you're into music. As a person who is open-minded and grew up playing Vice City, I can enjoy things on a case-by-case basis and personally adore the aura of 80s music. It really is an atmosphere all its own. I mean, would Is This Love by Whitesnake really hit the same without that sound? I think not. Anyway, just as a little bonus on these videos, I thought I'd wrap up each episode with a little mixtape of 10 of my favorite tracks to send you back to 1986 if you want to have a little bit of a mixtape. Jot this down. Okay, so we got Master of Puppets by Metallica. It's in the Library of Congress for cultural significance. Need I say more? You got The Conjuring by Megadeth. That breakdown riff in the middle makes my face contort into stank face riff mode to this day. You Give Love a Bad Name by Bon Jovi, my favorite of the singles from Slippery When Wet, and it was in Guitar Hero 5. Wasted Years by Iron Maiden, absolute classic, a beloved Maiden track. Hell on Wheels by Cinderella, it's a deep cut from Night Songs, and it is a speed limit breaker, let me tell you something. Walk in the Shadows by Queensryche, awesome opening track from Rage for Order, love this one. You got Rock the Night by Europe. Sure, you've got Final Countdown and Carrie, but this and Cherokee are my favorite singles from the album. Talk about a vibe, dude. This song's aura transports me back to 86, and I wasn't even there. You know, I can say what I like. It's my channel. I wasn't there, but I played Vice City growing up. Shut up. You got Body Talk by Rat. Speedy track from the boys in Rat. They could have easily been a straight up speed metal band. But they like the attention from the ladies too much, and who can blame them? Out in the Cold by Judas Priest, easily my favorite track off of Turbo. Intro gives me chills, and the song kicks ass. Let me know what your mixtape looks like in the comments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified when I upload another video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little trip to 86. Later, dude.